Well, what is going on YouTube? Welcome back to Therapeutic Edge. This is day 2 of Elite Tactical Week. And this is the Shatter. And I know that because it yells it at you from over here on the blade. Now, this is D2. It is G10 steel liners. It's got a deep carry pocket clip that is not... I mean, you got a lot of knife sticking out. I don't know. I don't understand. I don't love that, but I do love this blade shape a lot. You know, what is the Shatter? I think this is about 40 bucks. Hang on just a second. Yeah, the Shatter, this is $45, which is not inexpensive, but also not really expensive. It is ambidextrous, and because this is their dynamic locking mechanism, again, much like on the Conqueror that I showed you earlier this week, this moves up instead of back. So you move it up, and the knife closes. And it's good action. I like it. Now, there is, much like the other one, it has to overcome the lock right here, so there's a bit of a heavy point, right? You hear it pop into place. It's got a very positive lock when it closes. I carried this thing on and off for about a week, and, you know, it's just kind of silly, but also comfortable. It's got a really nice choil up here. It is a cardboard destroying machine. That is true. It also has kind of a cool and funky feature that I didn't expect. Now, these are not milled, so this one's fairly hefty. So it's got this glass breaker on the back. Now, I don't usually like glass breakers, but I was poking around at this thing with a flashlight, and I noticed something. You can turn this around, and depending, you know, slide it into place, and then you have a Phillips head screwdriver. How useful is that? I don't know, but somebody put a fair amount of thought into that, and so there we are. And you can just put it back to the glass breaker if that's what you want. I love stuff like that. I mean, why not? The blade shape is very useful. It is reasonably, it's probably the same, just slightly under 3mm slice of D2 that that some of these others are made out of. The handle is, as I said, just comfortable. Now, you're not going to hear me, sing this thing's praises as though it's the best knife in the world, but at $45, it is definitely in the sort of Kershaw range, and I like it better than almost any Kershaw I've gotten in the last year, except, of course, the high-end highball, but that's a different animal altogether. It's got a lanyard hole in it that you can actually get full 550 paracord through, by the way, which is very cool. Flipper works every time. For 45 bucks, I'd be hard-pressed to tell somebody not to get one of these. And because I think it's cool looking, I might even say go ahead and do it. Now, again, there's a fair amount of billboarding. That's okay. I mean, it's not my favorite, but it's okay. The Shatter here is one of those interesting knives that it's sort of... You're paying about 15 bucks more than you would for a Sativian, for instance. And if it was just a liner lock or, just another sort of access lock-esque lock, I'd be hard-pressed to find the extra 15 bucks. But that isn't what this is, because somebody did something different here. And that makes it interesting, right? The thumb ramp's in a good spot. The choil up here is full size and works really well. Let's do some size comparisons so I know what we're talking about. I'm going to line it up right here on this line. Here it is against PM2. As you can see, the PM2, oh, sorry about that. See, PM2 is considerably larger. The Shatter here is also thicker than a PM2 by quite a bit. Let's get that lined up again. Here it is against the Para 3. It's bigger than a Para 3. Here it is against the Protec Malibu. Getting close. Malibu and the Shatter here are very similar in size. Here it is against a Sativian that I just happen to have on the table. It's a fairly large Sativian, and as you can see, The Shatter's a little smaller. And then finally, here's the bug out, just because everybody knows what a bug out is. Right? There you go. I started this because, I mean, why not, right? But it turns out, after having these things around for a while, that they're surprisingly useful. And again, well made. And you end up with cool features. Like, it took me a couple of days to figure out that this thing would pull out and you could use it as a screwdriver. I mean, I don't know. That's just a cool feature. The pocket clip, even though the screws are not countersunk, they are reasonably small, and it's a nice big cutout in the G10, so it sits nice and low. It does ride the pocket really tall, but also fairly comfortably. I will say that everything that needs to be chamfered and knocked down is. There are no sharp edges on this knife anywhere, except right where you want one. And I'm not going to knock that. I'm just not. I think that for $45, but it's a fun knife, right? And that counts for me. Like I said in the first video, you know, if all knives were just work knives, and for some of you they are, I understand. But if all knives were just work knives, then you could have one of these, or, you know, if you needed something bigger, one of these, and that would be the only knife you own. And there are people running around out there that are like that, but let's face it, most of us aren't. If you're looking for knives for gifts, or for a truck knife, or for camping, or something to, you know, toss in a bag and keep, or to have available if you just need a knife but you don't want to carry your Strider or whatever, you guys know what I mean. Stuff like Elite Tactical definitely plays a role. Well built, known materials, D2, G10, steel liners, $45. It's going to last you a long time. An interesting lock that is different from other things going on right now, which is very cool. I really can't knock it. Let's go ahead and weigh it out. I think this one's going to be heavy, but that's just me. Yeah, that's 5 ounces. It does have thick liners. It does have what looks like an internal steel piece here to support the DLM lock. It's got the piece of steel back here that holds the glass breaker and or screwdriver in place. Yeah, this one's a little heavy, but it is sort of built to be a work knife, and in that regard, it is really successful. And we're coming in at 2.73 millimeters of blade stock. There will be a link in the description to Elite Tactical. And stuff like this is... stuff like this is cool. Not because it's the best, not because it's going to, you know, knock your bug out or whatever out of your pocket, but just because your bug out's never going to look like this. And like I said, I'm always going to have a soft spot in my heart for kind of weird but cool knives. And I think Elite Tactical does that. If you are interested, again, check out the link in the description, and that's where we're going to wrap it up. This is the Elite Tactical Knives Shatter. It is D2, G10, steel liners, very comfortable, very slicey, interesting lock, and $45. So, feel free to check it out. Hope you guys are having a great day. We'll see you next time.